It legit looks like a spatula, but it's a metal spatula. And what the crematory operators do with the spatula is when you're cremating a body, after 2 to 3 hours, you have to go in and kind of like, well, what do you do with the steak after a few minutes? You flip it, right? Okay, well, it's the same thing with the body. After 2 hours or so, or an hour and a half, you have to go open up what's called the chamber. I call it the oven. You open it up and you have to go in there with this huge metal spatula and you have to flip the body. So I began thinking, there's no way that this man could have gone to the chapel door, knocked, ran back, grabbed that humongous spatula, opened the chamber door, flipped the body. There was no way. So at this point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going back into the office. Maybe it was my manager. And so I grab my laptop, my charger. I'm not going back there no more. I grab everything and I bust into the office. And my manager happened to be making copies. And I told him, are you messing with me? You know, like I'm back there, I'm doing a training. Like how rude. And he tells me, shh, I'm in with the family. You're being loud. Like, no, why would I be doing that? I know that this training is important. Like, this isn't time for games. At this point, no. I told him, I said, I'm done. I can't with this place. This place is haunted. I don't know. You guys probably cremated the wrong person, and that's who's taunting us. Freaking out. And he said, just calm down. Just do your training in here. Don't go back there. No, I didn't go back there no more for the rest of the time that I worked there. And I want to say a lot of people that were cremated maybe didn't want to be cremated. That's one thing I always thought to myself. I mean, just cheap ass family members or you never know. You know, honestly, cremation is the most economic thing that you can do. A burial, the burial site, the grave site that they call it alone, right now goes for about 10,000 if you're lucky. And that's not including the funeral service, which you need to choose the casket, how many death certificates you want, the flowers if you want any, the priest or the pastor, or you know, and that's another, let's say 5 to 6,000 if you're lucky. So you're talking almost $18,000 compared to a cremation that right now is going for about $1,500. So yes, cremation is more economical. I mean, and I say cheap people because I have had a lot of encounters with a few famous people. Of course, I'm not going to give out their names or who they were, but I've, you know, done death certificates for quite a few famous people, and you're talking millionaires, and their families like, they're gone. Just cremate them. Be gone. I mean, we've had TMZ vans sitting outside our workplace just waiting for one of us to walk out to bombard us with interviews. So, yeah, a lot of people, they're cheap. And then there's those that they really can't afford it, and cremation is the only way out. Shifting into a little different short story, with cremation, in that particular crematory that I worked for, prior to cremating somebody, we always had to do what's called a verification. So we had to go down to the crematory once all the paperwork was signed by the family and we had all the appropriate permits and everything ready to cremate. The crematory operator will pull the body from the refrigerator, and we had to match the tote tag with all the paperwork, make sure that the name on the tag matched, the date of birth, any information that was on the tag had to match the information that we had on the paperwork. Because if you think about it, once you cremate somebody, that's it. There's no turning back. So anytime it was time to verify, Pancracio would always call me. And he would say, hey, can you come verify? Hey, can you come verify? Well, there was this one time where he asked me to verify, and I freaked out. I freaked out because I'm like, oh my God, he has no legs. Where's the toe tag? Stupid me. The guy had diabetes, so he had his legs amputated. Hello, when there's no toes to put a toe tag, you go to the wrist, right? So that was kind of funny, just a little side story. But guys, I'm very, very excited for next week. You all won't want to miss this. I'm going to interview one of my very special friends. His name is Jesse, and yes, that's his real name. Jesse, just to give you a short background, because I do want him to be able to be the one to share his story. He used to work in the biohazard industry. The biohazard industry, what it entails, he would clean up crime scenes. So people don't know the aftermath. You're like, okay, somebody was shot in the hotel, or somebody threw themselves in the train tracks and were ran over by the train. Yes, they pick up the body, they put the pieces together, but what happens to the crime scene that's left behind with blood, pieces of skin, pieces of skull? Well, that's where Jesse would come in. Jesse would come in and clean all of that up, make sure there was no trace of blood, no trace of anything. So you guys won't want to miss next Tuesday. This is going to be next Tuesday. I'm going to be interviewing with him. Really, really cool guy. And like I said, he has some crazy, crazy stories. So much so that I'll give you a little insight. He was at Paul Walker's crime scene. If you guys don't know who Paul Walker is, Google him. The gentleman that came out in Fast and the Furious. He was at his crime scene. So he's seen some pretty crazy, gnarly things. You guys don't want to miss it. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my podcast. I love you guys. God bless each and every one of you.